All right. Happy Sunday and January 3rd. I can't even believe we're into the new year. I had to write a date yesterday and it took me a moment to pause and write 2021. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Emily Pignataglu. I have been with Savvy since the beginning of May, but I didn't actually start working my business really till the very, very end of June, like the last day of June. I have been in network marketing for 11 years, so do come with some background, and I'm excited to be here today. What I'm going to be focusing on is following up. So I'm going to do a short training and then we'll do some work. And I love answering questions and brainstorming all together. So definitely use the chat as you have questions or comments or anything like that. I love it to be interactive. Jackie, I think we have the same top on today, actually. And if you don't have this top, it's like the best. Whatever, I mean, I don't know if this one's still in stock, but it's awesome. All right, so in terms of follow-ups, I am a huge advocate of follow-ups. And I wanna first start by showing you this slide, assuming I can screen share. So when we're talking about follow-ups, we often approach it as we are nagging people. And I think we need to all change our mindset in this. I think these statistics are so important. And this is a graphic you need to keep with you or near you as you're building your business and following back up to people. So for those of you who can't see it or on a phone, I'm going to go ahead and read it, but you can actually Google this. 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. So half never follow up. 25% of salespeople make a second contact and stop, probably because we're afraid that if we reach out again, we're bugging them. Not the case. 12% of salespeople only make 3 contacts and stop. Only 10% of salespeople make more than 3 contacts. So as you're reading these, or I'm reading them to you, think about how many times you've reached out to people about Savvy and how many times you've followed up. So 2% of sales are made on the first contact. Think about that. When you reach out to someone, there's only a 2% chance they're even going to purchase, join, anything like that. You wouldn't bet any money on those odds in anything else in life. 3% of sales are made on the second contact. So think about how many times have you reached out to someone twice and been like, oh, I'm bugging them. 5% of sales are made on the third contact. And sales, as we're talking about, are people who want to hear more, want to purchase, or want to join. 10% of sales are made on the fourth contact. I would bet big money that the majority of us, myself included, have not reached out to someone 4 times. And then 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. So this is huge. And I think this is probably a big gap for many of us. And when I talk about this, I include myself in here too. It's always a great reminder. And I once heard somebody train and they said, if you reach out to someone 2 to 3 times and you stop, you have warmed them up for the next person who's going to come along and be number 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. So do not stop until they tell you, stop reaching out to me, until they respond and act, whether they want more information, whether they order something from you, or whether they join. Now, here's the thing. There's an appropriate way to do it, and I'm going to share some of that today with us. Or with you. So I'm going to stop sharing this, but again, you can Google sales statistics and follow-ups and you can find this graphic. It's one of my favorites. So I just wanted to touch real quick on some of the reasons that we don't follow up. And if you have other ones, put them in the chat, but these are some of the ones that I have personally felt or that research has shown are big reasons that people don't follow up. So the first is the fear of being pushy. And I think that's probably relatable for the majority of us. But it's our responsibility to keep following up with them until we know for certain if they want to do business with us. But like we all talk about, you can cross that line by making too many calls in a short period of time. So it's, doing it in a cadence that is appropriate. And people will have different thoughts on this. And it kind of depends on the person. So I'm not going to give you a blanket statement of like, I reached out to Susie today, so 37 hours from now, I need to reach out to Susie again. It depends what's going on in Susie's life. If she has a newborn, or she has a sick family member, or she's working, a bajillion jobs, or she's lost her job, that follow-up is going to be very different. But the key is that you are following up. And when you go back to people to follow up, it's so important that you have something new to share with them. So you don't want to be like, hey, Susie, I know I reached out to you 2 weeks ago. Do you want to take a look now? You want to provide value. Like, what has changed? Hey, Susie, I'm super excited. And I'm going to share language examples a little bit later, but I'm just kind of throwing some things out there. I wanted to follow up from the last time I reached out because we have so much more inventory. We have this new bonus program. We have brand new technology. Whatever it is, you need to put value into why you're reaching back out. And think about, if you're working with someone in, someone's providing service to you and they're reaching out, you want to know that either they're going to give you a bigger discount, or they can, let's say a contractor. A contractor's like, hey, I'm going to be in your area this week, so I want to follow up and see if it'll work. Or, we're able to do this also. So you want to provide some more value or new information when you're reaching out. You don't want it to be the same thing every time. The second reason many of us don't follow up is we forget. I mean, we're busy, and so are our prospects. I actually went back to a message as I was preparing for this call yesterday, and I realized I had someone I connected with a couple weeks ago, and I sent them the information, totally forgot I messaged them. So a way around this is to have a schedule that allows you to make sure you are following up with people. And it can be on both ends. Like, hey, Susie, I'm going to send you this. I'm going to follow up in 2 days if I don't hear from you before. I like to do that so that they know I'm going to be following up with them, yet they can always follow up with me before. And then also write it in your planner. I think so many of us are super excited about this new year and new notebooks. I know Jackie has like 7 of them, and new planners. I have 2 planners for this year and one on the way. I mean, I guess I better figure out which one I'm going to use. And I'm still using my one from last year because it has a January in it. So making sure you're scheduling the times that you're following back up with people. The third reason many of us don't follow up is we're making false assumptions. We are assuming when someone doesn't respond back to us, whether it's via phone, email, text, we're assuming the worst. They don't like us. They think we're being pushy. They have a bajillion friends who've already reached out to them. Oh no, Emily's got something new she's doing again. Guys, a lack of response is usually just due to the fact that the other person's too busy or they don't have an answer for you. I always say, assume they're at the grocery store with 3 kids under the age of 5 when they check their messages. Also, too, it's our priority, but not their priority. So we want to hear back from them today. We want to hear back from them tomorrow. To them, it's like, oh, cool, Emily reached out. I'll get back to her when I can. I am so guilty, and I use this example all the time. My sister-in-law reached out to me. It's been many years now, like probably 7 years. She's like, hey, my friend's selling this jewelry. It's the one where you could like you could put a soccer ball in it and flip flops and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, I definitely want to order. So then she messaged me back 3 days later. She's like, so the party's tonight, and I'm going to send you the link. I was like, perfect, I'll be on. And then I didn't. And it wasn't intentional, it was just life. And then the next day she messaged me. She's like, hey, so my friend's closing her party today. You said you wanted something. Do you still want something? I'm like, yes. Send me the link. And when I'm done with work, I'll order. She then had to message me again. She's like, you said you wanted something. So I just think of it that way. Like, it's her priority, not mine. I still wanted it, but to me, that was very eye-opening for me being in the business. Like, I wasn't feeling bugged. I wasn't annoyed. I wasn't trying to ignore her. It wasn't a priority. And as soon as I like forced myself to sit down and do it, I placed a big order and I posted it on Facebook, and like 6 of my friends ordered too. So don't assume the worst when you're reaching out to people and they're not responding. The fourth reason people don't follow up is we think they're going to call us back. This is one of the most common myths that we fall prey to. We think if we do a good job and sharing savvy, that they're going to just call us back. Again, same thing. They don't necessarily need to follow up. It's not their priority. So people forget, they get busy, they procrastinate. But it's important to us to do the follow-up and not rely on them to follow up. And then the fifth reason that we don't often follow up We haven't been taught. And so for those of you who are on here, obviously building your team is important to you. So it's really important that you're training your team and your business partners as they join you, even if you have none today, that you talk to them about the importance of follow up. And there've been other power hours about this. And at first I was like, I don't know, we've had so many power hours on follow up, but it's such a key piece of what we do. So as we're building our teams and inviting people to join this business with us, we need to show them how to follow up. I'm recording this so you can send this to them. Also, within each of our teams, we have language on follow up. So just letting people know that follow up is key, and then letting people know that you're reaching out to, that you're going to be following up on a certain day. Let them know how you're going to follow up and when you're going to follow up. So you could use any different types of calendars or reminder systems for your follow-up. So those are 5 of the reasons that I found that we often don't follow up. And if you guys have other things to add or anything else that you think of as reasons, definitely let me know. Jackie, warming people up for someone else, like Rachel warming up Ross to go to a stripper. That's hilarious. Yes. Kaylee, I do have some examples. I'm going to post them below. But I wanted to just kind of talk through this first and remind you that following up is not bugging people. You think about so many aspects outside of our business and Savvy, and follow-up is so important. I'm in the healthcare field, and we have to call patients and be like, hey, your kid's due for their 15-month physical exam and some shots. They're not like, oh, they're calling me again. It's just what we do and the reminders we need. I mean, how many times do you have to remind your children or your spouse or anyone else about things to do? I just said to my kids today, right before I came up here, I go, so I've said this 3 times today. Do I need to say it again, or should I write it down? And it's just kind of life. So following up is key. We're going to work on that today. I'm going to share some language. I know a little bit of, at least one of my language things does come from Jackie. She and I work really closely together. And she and I just have different styles and ways that we reach out. So I'm going to share some of hers. I'm going to share some of mine. If you have some that you love and that are working, please put them in the chat. When following up, how often are you mentioning Savvy versus just checking in on people? So for me, and people may have different thoughts on this, if I have explained to them or brought up Savvy with them. So here's an example. I was talking to somebody the other day via Facebook Messenger. She always comments on my posts. I don't know her personally, but she always comments. So I just messaged her. I'm like, hey, it's so sweet. You always comment on my posts. And I just asked her some random question. And then she came back and I said, has anyone ever reached out to you about Savvy? I'm sure you've seen from some of my posts, and it was right after I'd done my video. She's like, no, but you always look so cute. I go, perfect. Let me send you, I didn't say perfect, but I was like, let me send you a little bit more information. And then today she commented on another post, but she didn't respond back in our messenger. So I messaged her back. I'm like, hey, did you ever get a chance to check out the video I sent? I would really love to hear your thoughts. And she responded right back. She's like, I'm going to do that today. Thanks for the reminder. But if 3 days from now, she hasn't responded back, or 2 days, or commented on the video, then I probably would just respond back with, hey, happy Tuesday. Hope your week's getting off to a great start, or something like that, just to remind them, hey, I'm here. Don't forget, you said you were going to reach back. So I think it just, again, depends on the situation and the conversation. If every time you reach out, it's about Savvy and they're not responding back, I would take a break from reaching out to them about Savvy. I would just re-engage them. Remember, people join us because of who we are, not because of Savvy, for the most part. So other questions. What's your strategy and schedule for follow-ups? I know you mentioned using a planner, but do you have a specific timeline you think works? Yeah, so Jackie just said, I like following up quickly the next day to quicken the process. I think that's best. Within 24 hours of initially sending something is ideal. And this is where one of the reasons we often don't follow up is we forget, or we don't have a good system for following up. So I think first time 24 hours is perfect. And then you're usually working within a 24 to 48 hour, what's our next step? What's our next step? Again, it's not other people's priorities. So you're going to have to be doing more of this. And again, I think some of it is just your personality and your relationships with these people. What about someone you've been dripping on? What does that look like? Reaching out about other things and not savvy. So same thing. Like if I've been dripping on someone and I've been talking to them about savvy and maybe they've watched an information session and they're like, yeah, cool. And I'm like, do you want to, check it out? Do you want to try clothing? And they're like, no, no. Then I will just engage in real life stuff with them for a while. So an example, I don't think she's on here today, but there's a gal named Jenny Smith who recently joined my team. She and I met, I want to say it's been about a year and a half, maybe two, through another group on Facebook. And right when I joined, I messaged her. I'm like, hey, you got to check this out. She's really into fitness. She's well connected. And she responded back, she's like, no, thanks. Like, didn't want anything to do with it. And she said, but maybe my daughter would. So I reached out to her daughter, who's I think in her early 20s, maybe late teens, and talked with her. She's like, cool, no thanks. So I was like, okay. So she and I just kept in communication about a variety of different things. When she was doing a new program in terms of exercise, I'd come in, I'd check in, hey, how are you? And then in October or November, I just sent her a message, and it's one of the ones I'm going to put down here for you guys. And I'm like, hey, I know timing wasn't right for you before. Things have changed. You really should take a second look. And she responded back, she's like, okay, tell me more. And she joined. And she has 3 or 4 people who are getting ready to join her. So for her, timing wasn't right. And I just continued to form that relationship with her and then followed back up. And honestly, the last 2 people who've joined me in business are 2 people that I reached out to right when I joined or soon after in the summer who told me no. I mean, they were flat out no. One was like, clothes are too expensive. My friends won't buy them. Not interested. And I reached out to her the same way I just said I did to Jenny. So those are the last 2 people who've joined me, and they were the exact same circumstances. So I'm going to share my language here. And then, Kaylee, you're welcome to ask any of us. And yes, Laura says, continue to comment on their posts, interacting with their stories, and just creating those relationships. Because you never know when they're even going to have a friend who's like, oh my gosh, I need to get some new workout clothes, or I'm looking for something else. And they're going to be like, you know what? I have this friend. I told her no, but let me connect the 2 of you. So just the relationships are so, so important. And Kaylee, at what point do you pull the plug? So I think this is a really great question. And I never pull the plug unless they are really rude and tell me to take them off all my lists or to never reach out to me again. I've never had that happen, but that's the only time I would do it. I love the takeaway. And so if I've reached out to someone a couple times and they're not really responding back, or the ones who are like, I'm in, I'm joining. I have a gal that Katie and I actually is a mutual friend of ours. And, we've both been talking to who would join Katie. And, finally we're like, all right, so it appears the timing is not right for you, or this business is not right for you. I don't want to keep bugging you. So let me know if something changes. And oftentimes people will be like, wait, don't give up on me yet. And so I think it's okay to just do the takeaway. Like, this obviously isn't for you. You're not interested. I'm not going to keep messaging you. I mean, I don't say that, but in my mind, I'm like, all right, if it's this hard to get you to even take a listen to something or to click the join now button, it's going to be really hard to work with you. So that's kind of the route I go. If you have to pull them to join you, you're going to have to like trudge them through to get them to do anything in this business. So hopefully that helps. All right, let me get this language up here and then we can do some work. And I'm here to answer any questions. So I'm giving you just a variety of different things. Some of these do come from Jackie, so I'm going to give full credit to her. She's a little more short and to the point, which I think is really good for certain people. The first one I'm going to post is the, it's too much to copy, is the one that I tend to use so much. And also too, just as I'm posting these, I have seen many people comment that they have reached out to people and then went to follow back up, and that person was already a brand partner. So it's a perfect example of how you warmed them up and then someone else reached out to them. And that is the worst feeling. I will tell you, there's not, in this business, there's not many worse feelings than when you finding out that someone you initially reached out to joined someone else. Sherry, yes. What if they always respond when you follow up, but you can't get them to join as a business brand partner or a customer? Then I would just continue to have those relationships. And then, maybe every 6-8 weeks, reach back and just, again, let them know what's new. Let them know why you think they really should take a look at this, and just be genuine. Unless they tell you, you know what, I have zero interest in Savvy, but I love interacting with you and you're a good friend, then that's fine. They'll continue to watch you, see what you're doing on Facebook. And if they're interested, they'll connect with you. All right, so it's 1:25, so we have about 35 minutes to work. So go ahead and do that. And if you have questions that come up, or if anyone wants to add anything, by all means, please pipe in. I love learning from other people. A lot of this is just my personal experience, but the follow-ups are so important because these are people that we've already opened the door with. And especially this time of year. I mean, one of the great things about January and following up is people are looking for change. They want something new. They're tired of the same old, same old. They've come up with a new word. They've come up with new workout programs or nutrition programs, or they're just ready for change. So this is a perfect time to be following up. And I'm not as cool as Christina Watts with music cued in my background. So feel free to put your own music on if you want, or work silently through your list. You're not going to do a dance party right now for us? Hold on. No, but if you'd like a dance party, I want you to go back to the 30-day challenge and watch today's first video.
Absolutely.
It was awesome. Yes. And if you're doing the 30-day challenge, this is total side note, make sure you listen to the intro video today. And even if, it is awesome. And I think it's a really good mindset, and you get a great dance. So thank you, Katie, for that reminder. I did want to touch on that today too. And I had that shirt on earlier today. Nancy, they replied, do I have to purchase the activewear? I would say no, because they don't. They could come in on a smaller kit. They could come in on the 99. So if they see the business side, but they, let's say, hate activewear, they don't have to. Savvy is not only going to be activewear. It's what we're focused on now because it's what everybody wears. I mean, I'm dressed up today. I have on like my joggers. So that's dressed up for me. So no, I tell them, no, you absolutely don't have to purchase anything, but definitely come take a listen to the info session tonight. And I think Jackie's running the info session tonight, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so Jackie's doing the info session tonight at 8:30. So as you're doing your follow-ups, if people respond back, plug them in tonight. You always want to get them in to an info session ASAP. And if they can't get in tonight, then send them a recorded video. Sorry, Molly, Eastern Standard Time. I'm on the East Coast, so everything is that time in my book. I'm going to share another little trick that I often do. If I'm scrolling through Facebook or Instagram and I come across somebody's feed that I'm like, oh, shoot, yeah, I messaged them, but I'm like in the middle of something, I will screenshot their picture. So it's in my photos. And then it's just a reminder to go back and follow up with them. So I'm looking right now and I have a bunch that I've screenshotted over the last 3 days, but I was at a place where I couldn't respond or message them at that moment. But it's just a quick way to remind yourself. Okay, I have to unmute and give a shout out to Emily, who just got someone to join the info session tonight because of a follow up. Way to go. And if anyone has different follow up language that they're using and loving, please share it with all of us. And congrats to Laura, who has someone joining the info session tonight due to follow up. My gosh, I'm loving this, you guys. All right, I see a couple questions. Lori, is it just me or can you not hear? I'm not sure what that is. Everyone's been muted and working. And then Emily, any good follow-up language for people who have attended an info session and you've connected them with your sponsor, but they have not responded? Um, Honestly, I would just message them back and say, hey, just wanted to follow up, check in, see what you thought of the info session. I really think you'd be a great um, partner, or I think Savvy would be an awesome fit for you. I would just, follow back up. Again, it's not their priority, it's yours. So follow up is key. If they have commented in the three-way message with your sponsor, then your sponsor could always help you out with that too. But if they haven't, then you just need to take it back to them and ask the questions. So I'm going to share an example with you in relation to what Emily just asked. So I sent a message to a friend who's newly divorced, mom of teen girls, and is home. And so I sent her one of the videos and she messaged me back. She's like, sounds interesting. I'll think about it. And I said, okay, I'm going to loop you in with my sponsor, Jackie. So I looped her in with Jackie. Jackie came back and is like, hey, all the normal stuff Jackie says. And my friend messaged back and she says, hi. And that was it. Like, what do you do with that? So I'm going to message that person back individually and do a follow-up with her. I can't expect Jackie to do anything with that. This girl obviously wasn't giving a whole lot. So I'm just going to do a follow-up and see where she stands with things. I have to unmute myself before I start talking. So Sherry said, I just got a response from someone that I have been following up with for months from my message to her a few minutes ago. Hallelujah, just for the message back. She told me she doesn't have time and thanks for reaching out. What is a good response? Does anyone have language they want to throw out there or give a suggestion on? Nope. All right. So I would ask her. I first of all would validate. I totally felt the same way. I know we're all busy and often feel like we don't have time for anything else. Oh, here you go, Jackie. I totally hear you. I feel like I forget to pee because I'm so busy. And I definitely wasn't sure about adding one more thing to my plate. But once I found out how simple and fun it is, And with income being so uncertain these crazy times, I decided to just go for it because multiple streams of revenue can be helpful. I think you'd be surprised at the simplicity. Legit, just wearing and sharing as casually or intentionally as you want. Since there's no commitments as far as selling or ever buying, it's kind of a no-brainer, honestly. So what I would do is I would save this to your notes. I guarantee Jackie just copied this from her notes to put here and probably tweaks it a little bit depending on who she's responding to. And see if you can get them on an info session. If you can't, then again, I would just keep her in your circle or see if she would be interested in trying out some clothes with a $25 coupon. When people say they don't have time, it's an easy story, if you listened to the 30-minute thing today, that people tell themselves, we don't have time. I mean, I had somebody come to me and said, hey, I have this new business on top of the business I already have, plus being a nurse practitioner, plus 2 teen boys, plus a husband who's working from home. I probably would have said, nope, I don't have time. But the fact that I saw what the business was doing for Jackie, I saw the clothing and I saw her excitement, I was willing to listen. And that's really saying when people say they don't have time, it's a really quick way to get you off their back. Just like when people say, I don't have money, we're not going to go to them and be like, yeah, you do. So it's just an easy way. So I would dig a little bit further into that one. And thanks, Jackie, for sharing that. All right, guys. So we have 3 more minutes. That hour flew for me. Um, I would love to hear any other outcomes from your reach outs or questions or thoughts. Was this helpful? And um, how it's going. And feel free to unmute yourself. Oh, good. And guys, I can't stress the power of like how powerful these power hours are to your business. Um, we have them every day, except yesterday, but it was a holiday weekend. So commit to doing, I like to do at least one a day. There are some days I've done all of them, but commit to as many as you possibly can and really let your team know the value in these also. And you're going to find some power hours you're going to get more value from, some not as much, but you will always get something from every power hour. And I feel like they have been a huge contributor into my success in this business. Oh, good. I'm glad people found it helpful. And if you have other questions after this ends, feel free to message me on Facebook. Good, good. So, I hope you guys will continue to do your follow-up, save all that language to your notes, and make sure you set a schedule for following up with people, and don't be afraid. Pull that photo up from Google and keep it in front of you. It's a good reminder that if you've reached out 3 times and you quit or stop, you are just warming that prospect up for the next person to come along. You don't want that. It's a terrible feeling. Obviously, there are some people who will join Savvy not with you, which is probably okay. But it's a reminder that we need to reach out more than 1 to 3 times. All right, I'm going to just see what else is in the chat and then we can wrap it up. Good, good. So everyone found it helpful. At least you're telling me that. So I love that. Thank you for joining me. And we will get the recording. Jackie will post it on our team page. Courtney and I needs to pull it out of the cloud. So as soon as that is done, we will get access and post it. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday and a great start to your week. Make sure if you're doing the 30-day challenge that you go in and listen to the kickoff that happened at noon today. It was awesome. And I'm super excited to see where we will be 30 days from today. All right, guys, have a great day and we'll talk soon.